That's only 9 days, and getting the 5 of us in one
I think it
room.
would have been okay too.
4 of us
Come
back
to
in
some
one room.
consensus in that room.
Well,
So, no.
there's some, Megan doesn't agree.
Yeah, that was more with the treasurer.
Sure.
And the superintendent.
Everything's all up there.
All right,
Nobody else knows anything about
If I'm being honest.
so I will do that.
Mr. Markajan said I haven't seen her, but she said she was coming and she is here.
She has mobility issues, that's why I'm surprised. Let's see.
Alrighty.
Appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome.
There we go. Is this thing on? Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Geneva Area City Schools School Board to order. Roll call, please, Mr. Lillie.
Mrs. Krieg,
Here.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon,
Here.
Mrs. Ortiz,
Present.
and Mr. Pierson.
Here.
Thank you. Are we in compliance, Mr. Lillie?
Yes, we are.
Thank you. We are going to now select, hopefully, try to select a 5th board member. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to entertain nominations from the board. If the remaining members of the board have nominations, then now's the time to share them.
I'd like to nominate Mr. David Perdue.
Thank you. Any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Beth Cybulski.
Thank you. Mr. Pierson, do you have anybody? Okay. So let's start with Mr. Perdue. Can I get a motion from the board to nominate him to be appointed to our open board position?
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second? No second. Thank you. I'd like a motion for appointing Ms. Beth Cybulski to be our open member of our open seat.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Krieg,
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon,
Yes,
Mrs. Ortiz,
Yes.
and Mr. Pierson.
Yes.
we have a new board member. Mrs. Cybulski, will you join us, please? We're going to do the oath of office for her right this minute and ask her to join us. Firing, no, what is it called? Frying pan into the fire, right?
You got other stuff.
Mr. Lillie, you're gonna do that? The honors?
Mrs. Cybulski, do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as members of the Board of Education of the Geneva Area City School District, Ashtabula County, Ohio, to the best of your ability in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted during your continuance in said office and until your successor is elected and qualified?
I do.
Okay. If you would sign. Right here.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Congratulations, ma'am. Run of applause, Mr. Pierson and Mr. Riley. Thank you all. And I want to thank all the candidates. We had 6 outstanding candidates come to us, and we had great conversations with each. And I can only speak for myself, but I know that it was a challenging decision for us because we had such quality people, so thank you, those of you that came. Okay. Pledge of Allegiance, please. Please rise, if able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any correspondence, Mr. Lillie?
Yes, I have some correspondence from, our county auditor, David Thomas, who first let us know at the end of February that collections had been strong in the treasurer's office, but mail was still coming in, and they believe they can turn over the settlement to us by the end of next week. We're not sure then what our turnaround can be, likely mid-March. We have a agreement with the county auditor, we being all the county school districts, that lays out when we get advances prior to settlement. Generally, we see our first advance at the end of January, the second advance by February 14th, and a third advance by March 7th, and then settlement follows. There's been a little trouble the last 2 years in the county auditor's office. Collections have been slow. The first year, 2 years ago, districts actually got too much and then had to give a refund back. It was miscalculated. Last year, every district had to get a refund money at the end when they got settlement.
Yeah.
So he's a little leery of that and asked if we wanted a third advance or if we wanted to wait till settlement, but he indicated that it would likely be pretty soon. However, on Monday, March 18th, we got another correspondence saying, I'm writing to share that presently we do not have the settlement figures and data to perform the cash transfers for the first half property taxes yet. As soon as we receive this, we will perform settlement of the collection to you. He's hopeful to have this to our office any day, but wanted to keep us updated. So again, we're a little bit behind, so we didn't get our advance March 7th. Now we're waiting for that settlement. But at that time, then we will have all of our first half collections.
Okay, thank you. Anything for you, Mr. Riley?
No, I do not have anything.
Correspondence?
No.
Thank you. Can I please get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz,
Yes.
Mr. Pierson,
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg,
Yes.
and Mrs. Cybulski.
Yes.
Treasurer's financial report, please, Mr. Lillie.
Moved.
Oh, you don't have a report? Was that your
No,
report?
this is just to have the
Okay.
report approved.
So move to approve the treasurer's financial report.
So
We got a
you
move, we
motion.
got a motion, we need a second.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg?
Yes.
Mrs. Cybulski?
Yes.
And Mrs. Milliken Dixon.
Yes. Informational items.
Approval of invoices.
Oh, what did I skip one? Oh, I skipped one, I apologize. I need a motion to approve the invoices, please.
Moved.
Second.
Second.
Nobody wants to move in second tonight. Roll call, please.
Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
Mrs. Cybulski?
Abstain.
Mrs. Krieg?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
And Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Now informational items.
Okay, you see a donation there from a Roy Wright and Jamie Crom, 2008 Geneva graduates, to assist students with their negative balances at the elementary school. So that amount there, $1,296.71, is from Michele Papick and represents the negative balances as of the date that they made that donation. And those will wipe out those negative balances.
Very nice. Thank you to them. Nice. Mr. Pierson, legislative report, please.
Yeah, so we're having a lighter year than usual, which is really good for everyone who absolutely despises this portion of the meeting. The General Assembly basically
it now.
has been going through kind of an appropriations ping pong between the House and the Senate. There's $350 million of appropriation that's going to be given. How it's going to be given, what the parameters of how it's going to be given are kind of what's up in the air right now. The Senate indicated while there is an agreement, the coordination between these two chambers is basically still looking at recommendations on how best to implement this. HB2 has $350 million for various projects using one-time strategic community invest fund, like All Ohio funds. If you look that up on the, well, I always say ODE, but it's DEW now, DEW. They'll actually have an itemized list of how and what that will go to. It'll have $600 million to the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, and you'll see these items itemized on the report, which I'll release as well. HB 27, $600 million to the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, $195 million to the Ohio Exposition Commission, $575 million to Public Workers Commission for local infrastructure, et cetera. And some of this is going to make its way down to schools. It's going to be increasing from $15 million to $34 million in the general revenue fund appropriations for the adoption grant program in 24 and 25, and reappropriations for 2025. You're going to see the unencumbered balances move over, which again is really exciting. I don't have any anticipated passage date for this. We don't have any session days scheduled to keep the conversation going. So this is going to remain on hold until the chambers can kind of come to an agreement on the details of both of those bills. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pierson. A-Tech report, please, Mrs. Ortiz.
Yes, the 2024 school calendar was approved. The students' first day at A-Tech will be August 21st, which is kind of in the middle of all of the other districts in the county. They say that Grand Valley and Jefferson's start date is August 19th. Ashtabula City, Pymatuming Valley are August 21st, also similar to A-Tech. Buckeye, August 22nd. Geneva, August 26th, and Conneaut, August 28th, all pending board approval. The Skills USA competition starts April 10th in Columbus. Groundbreaking for the new addition at A-Tech is set to start in early June, and we have 8 of the academies completely full, and they're working on filling the rest of them. Acceptance letters have went out, and they've got a lot of excitement going on right now. So it's a good time right now.
Thank you. Report of the Assistant Superintendent, please, Mr. Riley.
If I could add to the admin team come up, we do have 1 years of service to give out this evening, and it is a 35 years of service to this district. So if I could have a couple board members, I suppose, come up as well.
Yeah,
Or
Mr. Pierson's gonna do it for us.
Sure.
I'm gonna sit this one out.
Again, throughout the... Are we on? No. Maybe we're
No.
not on.
Oh, and Josh is up here. Tony's up here.
So we're going to do this old school.
Yell loud.
We're going to come out, the principal voice of me is going to come out. Throughout the course of the year, we have been recognizing staff members for their years of service to the district. We started back earlier in the school year, I believe it might have been November-ish. And each month we've recognized, the 10, the 15, the 20, 25, 30, 35. This evening, we have a staff member that is being recognized this evening for their 35 years worth of service to our district. Congratulations are in order, certainly for Lisa Cozy.
It's a little tough to
On the back of them. You're very welcome.
We went all out.
I'd like to thank all the staff of Geneva Schools. You're amazing.
Aw. Thank you all.
Yeah, now we're on. Thanks.
Ask questions. You know what I mean? Yeah, let's just zoom past you. All that stuff was just.
At this time, we're going to continue on with our administrative Board of Education reports this evening. Mr. Marti, you are up first, please.
Oh, the electronic one. Yay. Thank you, admins, for sending me an electronic. I appreciate it. I don't know if you've missed the point, though, maybe. The point is to not have so much paper. I've asked them to send me the reports. Missy Doherty, everybody. She sent me just an electronic version. I still have a whole stack of paper. Right? Yours is pretty, though, Mrs. Porcello.
I think this one's pretty too.
This might be a little bit too high for me here, Mr. Chenoweth. For Osterberg, for the March board report, it's hopefully very brief. A couple of updates, and they both involve the NCAA. The first one is the Read to the Final Four challenge that Osterberg Elementary's third grade class has been battling for the last, since the start of the year. So since the beginning of January, they have been battling over 100 other schools in Northeast Ohio. And I mentioned this at the last board meeting. We were in second place out of those 100 schools. We fell to fourth place, and we clawed our way back to second place, and we currently stand in second place with 5 days left in the challenge. If we are able to make it to the top four, so stay at second place, if we are able to do that, our third grade students will be invited to Turneytown, which in this case is Cleveland, Ohio, where they will be celebrating the women's NCAA Final Four. And there will be a celebration for these schools, for these top four schools. And the top four schools go into a 1 week challenge to figure out who number one is. And that just happens to be during our spring break. So our third grade teachers are preparing our third grade students for lots of reading over spring break. I don't think the students are complaining too much because of what's at stake. And supposedly, from what I saw as details are coming out, the first place team gets a complete makeover of their school's library, courtesy of the NCAA Read to the Final Four competition. So the students have been awesome, and they continue to read, and our teachers have been encouraging them throughout. So congratulations to them. Another NCAA thing, our second grade class got a chance to go on a field trip to Spire, courtesy of the NCAA Swimming and Diving National Championship that's being held out there. I got an email from the director for the NCAA Swimming and Diving competition, and they asked if we had any students that would like to do that, and our second grade students were so excited, and they got a chance to go out and were introduced to some of the collegiate swimmers and divers. They They were brought donuts by the swimmers and divers, and got a chance to watch them for about an hour. They also got a headband and a T-shirt, and there's some really cute pictures in there. And later that day, that director from the NCAA swimming and diving championship sent me a nice email saying how amazing our students and our two teachers that brought them, Mrs. Dilworth and Mrs. Hollis, were. So that's always great to hear, and the excitement for these kids is a wonderful thing to see and be a part of. Final thing for this, and we're doing lots of great things. We had a bookmobile, but getting a chance for my first time of them celebrating Dr. Seuss was quite interesting, and all the young kids reading all the different Dr. Seuss books and the different things that go out in the hallway and the different projects the teachers do with them. So I enjoyed my very first celebration of Dr. Seuss. Not that we didn't enjoy that at the high school, but it seems to take on a different level down at the elementary school. So it was an honor for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Ms.
Tony.
Murphy.
Mrs. Doherty from Court, please.
Cork's in the challenge with us, and Mrs. Doherty said that whoever wins gets to shave the other person's hair. You got a lot more to lose, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know how. Our third graders have been reading really hard. They're like averaging 3 or 4 hours a day. I don't know what you guys are doing, but it's fantastic. So congratulations to you guys. That's pretty amazing. Good job. But they're having fun doing it. They are in the challenge, and they've really been trying to read. I think they can count like every second, even when the teacher's teaching, reading and that, and I don't think we caught on to that, but they've been reading quite a bit, so it's been great. I like that opportunity. Speaking of Dr. Seuss, we, of course, our first grade class in kindergarten celebrated Dr. Seuss's birthday. Mrs. Schrader's here. She had guest speakers come in and read. I got to read a book. I love Dr. Seuss. Tons of classroom decorations. The students got their own Dr. Seuss book, a pencil eraser, and a little Dr. Seuss notebook, and they were so excited. And they had tons of treats and snacks. And they also made green eggs and ham. And the kids told me that you had to add blue food coloring to make the eggs green because the eggs were yellow. Because I'm like, why are you putting blue in there? They answered. So, it was a little test, but yeah. This next one, I just had to share it because Mrs. Wilbur's second grade class, they've been working on graphing, and they became hamburger master chefs. And yes, it's an activity, but just watching them was amazing. They had little hamburgers, like pictures. They had to make a spinner with the toppings, like lettuce, all that kind of stuff. Well, just to hear them talking, they're like, who's going to buy a hamburger with, I spun cheese 3 times? Who's going to buy something like that? So, and then they started bartering, like, I've got extra cheese. Does anybody have? So it was just cute, and I just had to share that with you guys because that's what we get to experience quite a bit every day. So, our student council, under the direction of Mrs. Jackham, has been busy. They instilled no homework Mondays. They're listening to their constituents. They also had dress days, twin day. Today was be what career you're thinking about, and I dressed as a principal or a teacher, because that's all I know. And we have a future principal at Miss Eloise Lawson. She wants to be a principal. I didn't have time for that today, but we have a date for that, so she's going to be a principal. And they've also approached me about adding time onto lunch and recess. And they're doing all that, and they're collecting for the Geneva Food Pantry. So they've been very busy. PTO helped us celebrate leap year. They hid little tiny frogs all around the building and in the classroom. And if a student found a frog, they could go to school store and purchase something. So they were excited about that. And I always report about our families. We are using the spot books. They're little spot if you want to look those up. This last family activity was perseverance. And we really worked on including positive self-talk to avoid giving up. And the students finished a picture, some of them. Sometimes we do different activities, whatever you're comfortable with, that was already started, and the thought of what art would look like if an artist just gave up. So other topics we've discussed include teamwork, courage, kindness, and that's just to name a few. And we're going to take a break for April because of state testing, but then we'll be back in May. And I just want to, I know Mr. Marker John wants to come watch that, but it's just pretty amazing watching them interact, and the older kids just take to those younger ones and go right up and just want to help them. So it's a pretty fun thing. So, and then I did include our Soaring Eagles. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sorty.
Mrs. Brzanko?
Good evening. GPS as well celebrated Dr. Seuss's birthday. We did a Spirit Week. We had a lot of students coming in as Thing 1, Thing 2 for Twins Day. A lot of fun activities on that. Fifth grade students had a visit from UH Hospital. We, due to a cancellation earlier when Cork and Austenburg had them come, they are here now. So they did come in and talk about nursery, community outreach, nutrition, radiology, and EMS. Teachers were also provided with some resources for them to use as after the fact. So the students really had a really nice time with that. St. Patrick's Day activities, I gave you lots of pictures. I happened to be in Mrs. Fouts' room at the time. Students were making leprechaun houses out of their pattern blocks, clovers, different things like that. And she had a whole room full of centers that I was watching. And the students it was amazing because in the beginning of kindergarten, when they first come in, it's like total chaos. And then now walking in, and they all know where their centers are, how their inside voice, how they share and work together to solve problems. So it was great to see the transition for that. Attached, if you will look, we have a GPS yearbook winner. Every year we have a student design our yearbook. And as you can see, I think it was a little bit on the Swiftie side this year. It looks like a lot of Swiftie bracelets that they would make. But Layla Stefanski, she was our winner on our cover. We are doing COGAT and Iowa testing for second graders. We're also doing extended learning for third, fourth, and fifth for OST prep coming up. Thank you to Ms. Papik for securing the grant for the snacks. So now they are given snacks before they start their program, which is nice. And we're also gearing up for kindergarten registration, which we start on the day back from spring break. So we already have, last time I counted, we had at least 26 families that were registered to come after spring break to register. But the big news is we found out today that GPS won the Momentum Award for last school year. Only 3 schools in the county won that. So that was GHS, that was GPS, and Jefferson Elementary. So to get the Momentum Award, you had to demonstrate outstanding improvement and achievement while also continuing to show growth. And the Momentum Award is for districts and buildings that have improved their performance index by 3 or more points from 21 to 22 report card to the 22-23 report card, and also receive a value-added progress rating of 4 or more stars. So I would like to personally congratulate all the staff at GPS for all your hard work. It starts at kindergarten all the way up. We can't be successful unless we thank all those that started off on the ground floor. So thank you, GPS, and congratulations to that. Thank you.
Mrs. Porcello?
There was actually a spark. It happened with my phone. It fell out of my pocket when I was getting in my car today, and when I picked it up from the ground, there was also a spark. So I'm electric today. For the student services update, the civil rights data collection has been complete. I want to thank a few people because without them, it wouldn't be complete. Mrs. Horvath, Mr. Riley, and Mrs. Hurst helped tremendously in that task. It was the first time I've done it, as it's only done once every 3 years. They don't give you any hints about what it is. It was about 1,000 different criteria.
That's not a typo.
No, that is not a typo.
1,000
per building
criteria.
in the
Nice.
district. So in that case, this
Okay.
was from the 21-22 school year. So we also still had the Geneva Eagle Academy. So it was 6 different buildings with about 1,998 questions is actually what it was. So it was a lot. And Mrs. Horvath took on a tremendous amount of that by pulling data from our student information system to help with that process. The alternate assessment justification is in process. It's due April 26th. I hope to have it done before then. It's hinging on knowing the number of students that are taking the tests in the district. So we have to wait to see exactly what those numbers would be for ELA, math, and science. I already know the students that are taking alternate assessment, but it's a percentage comparison between those two things. And also a positive came through my email, I want to say probably about 10:30 last night, from our bus driver, Mr. Hoyt. And he was sending a big thank you to Teresa and Pam, two aides that are on his bus. He wanted to give kudos to them for working with two particular students that were having a rough time because there was a difference on the bus yesterday, and they took the time to understand what the problem was and work the students through it so that they were able to have a smooth ride and didn't disrupt the route at all. So thank you to them for the work that they do. It's not an easy job. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Mr. King.
Okay, I was told I have a minute.
You guys always say that.
30 seconds.
Kent needs more time for his awesome championship team. Looking forward to having these guys come up here and do the same one more time. All right, just real quick, a few highlights here. Bryn McCormick was honored by the U.S. Fleet Reserve Association. That's basically, to put it in a different term, the retirement group for the Navy, Coast Guard, and Marines. She won the district Americanism essay entitled What Memorial Day Means to Me. She then goes into the regional and then hopefully from there the national competition. Real quick at the bottom, you've hopefully noticed some changes in our school website already. There's going to be plenty more to come here in the next few weeks. We actually went back to the data analytics page from ThrillShare, and we're basing what the page looks like off of the amount of traffic we've had, so it actually makes sense. Congratulations to Nathan Riegel. As everyone knows, he did make it to the state swim meet, placed 10th in the state. He did phenomenal. He did it in the breaststroke. I don't even know that I could run that fast.
I get it.
You see these kids, they just, and my daughter, both of my daughters swim, and watching these kids, it's just unbelievable. We did have Matilda the musical, and I heard from a lot of different segments in the community that it was one of the best performances that our thespians have put on. Miss Christopher, she greatly enjoyed it, but just the amount of time, energy, and effort she puts into the plays is absolutely amazing, and her performers were awesome. Coming up in April, and this has been going out into the community. I was able to share with Chamber of Commerce. I was able to share with Veteran Service Commission, et cetera. Geneva High School, we're hoping to get awarded our Purple Star here in April from the state, which means that we're military family friendly. And we'll be supporting our first military family friendly Spirit Week, April 15th through the 19th, and those posters will be all throughout the town. One last real quick, we have incredibly bright, kind folks here, but some of our brightest and best, not that I'm sucking up to a new board member or anything, our Quiz Bowl team did phenomenal. Like, they won out. I don't know that they know how to lose, which is wonderful. We have some really amazing young folks here. They won the Triple Crown, the Academic Challenge, which was week 4, first place in the county league, and then the Ashtabula County Tournament Championship, which just occurred. Coach Markajon's back there, and Coach Unsinger. Oh, sorry, there you both are. Rock stars in their own right, and our students are pictured. Just an amazing group of young folks, and I owe them quite a bit of food.
Finally, Mr. Poland from the middle school.
we had to be a little different because we have something exciting to announce. All the way down. We had our indoor track team, boys and girls. Our boys had 4 students who went to the indoor state championship. With our 4 students, we placed 22nd out of 40 teams with just 4 boys. They did very well. These young ladies right here went down to Muskingum University March 11th, and they are state champions indoor track meet, or track team, thank you very much. There was probably 40 teams there also. From my understanding, I could be wrong on this, but we checked a couple people. This is our first team state championship in the school history, middle school and high school combined, right? Yeah, there was a 1950 basketball team in high school. So since 1950. So, thanks, Tony. So congratulations, girls. With the girls, we have 1 state champion. Take a step forward. I'm not going to make you speak. Taylor, I threatened that she's going to have to talk today. I was down to Muskingum with the girls. Taylor paced herself. She said, I want to place. I'm not worried about my time. So it was a 200-meter track, so she had to run 8 laps. And as she was starting the last turn, her and the girl in front of her was lapping another person, and Taylor got blocked in, right? She got blocked in, so she had to really run hard to get first place, and she got first by a couple hundredths of a second. It was a close race. She really ran her heart out, but she was a state champion, very proud of her. All of the girls did very well. A lot of relays, individual events also. So we have some certificates. Mrs. Carnett's going to help me out here.
All right. So we have Lissy Rosales, Gia Palmasano, Kaylin Murphy, Peyton Pasco, Peyton Lempinen, Claire Restad, Grace Andrus, Hallie Spade, and Taylor Scheinman. We'd also like to recognize our coaches. We have Jason Dalton, Abe Rosales, Emily Long, Anna Hazler, and John Mattoon. Thank you very much for all your hard work. We really appreciate it. We're very proud of all of you.
Good job, ladies.
All right, congratulations, girls. That was a great job all the way around. Just a handful of items that are on my end. As we did in the past, last year, this year we did the STEM nights at the library for our elementary and middle school students. As I spoke at prior board meetings, the grades 3 through 5 went on March 6th, and grades 6 through 8 went on March 14th. They did an assortment of challenges, everything from volcano science activities to spaghetti tower engineering, a leaning tower of pasta, an egghead experiment where they would literally wrap an egg that was not hard-boiled, just a legit egg with as much saran wrap and as whatever contraption they could, and then they would drop it. And then Lauren Webster at the library did not have to clean up anything off of the floor, so that's a really good thing. But congrats to the students that went there, and also to Mrs. Webster and her staff for doing such a great job in helping us out. One of the topics that's throughout the community, obviously, is the tuberculosis situation at the middle school. Again, we were notified of this late Friday afternoon, in closely working with the Ashtabula County Health Department as well as the Ohio Department of Health. We wound up over the weekend sanitizing and disinfecting the entire building. We just did not do it in the early identified classrooms. We did it throughout the entire building, done out of an abundance of caution. The health department, both health departments have indicated that we went above and beyond what we needed to do with this situation. Again, tuberculosis does not show symptoms for 8 to 12 weeks. Kudos to everybody that helped out as they came in. We used some ultraviolet light technology. We used some chemicals that were approved by the health department to eradicate the tuberculosis virus, I guess I would say. We had several employees over the weekend that gave up their time, dropped what they needed to do, really, and kind of come in and help out. I'd like to recognize them. Christy Burns was our nurse. Mrs. Jessica George, the school counselor. John Mirabel helped post some items on our website for us over the weekend. Both administrators, Mr. Poland, Mrs. Carnett. Scott Ola came in, worked with the buses, worked with the tracing and things like that, and make sure we had everything lined up to get the building cleaned up. And then obviously Terry Grimmett, Brenda Cork, and Miguel Lopez for coming in on Sunday and doing the best, doing a great job with the building. Again, the health department will be notifying everyone that has been in close contact. We have provided them that list. It is still a suspected, a non-confirmed case at this time. When we find out as a building and as a district, we will post that on our website, and we will communicate it out accordingly. But again, kudos to the staff members that gave up their time over the weekend to really help out. And we really appreciate our efforts with the health departments and their support of what we were trying to do in getting the word out. So just kind of wanted to move that forward.
Dave, can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Does the health department give us any indication of when they'll know? If it's confirmed, or how long does it take?
Right, the health department, there's not, I think we all remember from back in the day, long time ago when we got our TB tests, you know, it was kind of like prick your skin, go back 72 hours again and check it. When you are doing a test, you are testing, you are doing a test, then you're doing another test, then you're doing another test, and these tests are everything from blood test to saliva test to skin test, and they have to keep coming back positive on these multiple occasions. It's just not getting a simple test and then you come back maybe 24 hours later and read it. It takes some time. We do anticipate that we should know tomorrow or Friday at the very latest, and we'll get that information out as to everybody as quick as we possibly can.
Perfect, thank you.
You're very welcome. Kind of moving forward, kudos to Mrs. Papik and our cafeteria. They implemented the after-school snack program on February 20th. After 1 month of operation, they have already distributed over 525 bag snacks to the students that are participating in the after-school programs. Those snacks contain a whole grain snack item such as crackers or an oatmeal bar and 100% fruit juice. They've received some positive feedback from everybody that's been involved with that. Mr. Ola down in the transportation department has informed us that they do have a new driver that has joined their staff. They have another one that they have interviewed, and also they have actually 3 more people that they are interested in trying to come in and to fulfill the obligations to maybe participate as a bus driver. He informed me that over the span of March 11th that week, there were 20 plus call-offs between drivers, aides, etc. Very minimal disruptions to the bus transportation services, so kudos to him and the entire bus department for doing what they needed to do there. Textbook adoptions, we will put something out to the public shortly so they can come in and review the materials that we've been looking at, or the committees for English language arts and science have been looking at. We'll get those out probably for public review the first couple of weeks of April upon our return from spring break, and hopefully we'll have a recommendation for the Board of Education at the April board meeting. Finally, on our end, school closing is just a reminder. We are closed from March 25th to April 1st due to spring break, with classes resuming on April 2nd. The solar eclipse day of April 8th, we are also closed on that day. Kindergarten registration, as Mrs. Brzanko mentioned, runs from 8:30 to 11:30 and also 12:30 to 3:30. At GPS, it runs on April 2nd and April 3rd, Osterberg on April 4th, and Cork on April 5th. Keeping along that lines, on April 6th, that Saturday, the Red Bow 5K Runner Walk is being held, and there are some flyers that have been going on that. And also, Mr. King and the high school are working with the entire district to having Ohio Military Family Spirit Week that will be on April 15th to the 19th. And there'll be more information and details coming about that after break. To my knowledge, I appreciate obviously to the admin team and all their work, all the emails and correspondence and phone calls that have come across my way. We have done my best to put those out to people that need to, or I've addressed it myself. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. The Assistant Superintendent recommends that the board approve the enclosed interdistrict open enrollment policy for the 24-25, what?
The calendar first.
What did I skip? Trying to get out of here sooner. The Assistant Superintendent recommends the adoption of the enclosed Geneva Area City School District 2024-2025 school calendar. I'd like a motion from the floor, please, from the board.
Moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Can we just
Any discussion?
relay
Oh,
the
discussion.
dates?
I apologize.
So on this calendar, it is, the waiver day is August 22nd, teacher in service day is August 23rd, students' first day is August 26th, kindergartner's start date is August 28th, preschool start date is September 3rd, the winter break is December 23rd through January 3rd, the spring break is March 24th to March 28th, and the last day of school is June 5th, and graduation is June 1st at 2 o'clock at Spire.
We did put this out to the staff for their review and I guess voting, I would guess, along the way. We sent out to the staff on February 22nd. 114 staff members voted for this particular calendar, which was a majority by far.
Thank you. Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cybulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
And Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
And now, the Assistant Superintendent recommends that the board approve the enclosed interdistrict open enrollment policy for 2025 school year. I need a motion, please.
Moved.
Second?
Second.
Does this
Any
have
discussion?
any changes, or is this similar with changes of dates?
I think just
The
the
only,
dates are
only
changed.
changes to it, Mrs. Ortiz, were the dates that are in the document as well as a handful of typos that have been corrected.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Krieg?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
And Mrs. Cybulski?
Yes.
The treasurer recommends that the 2024-2025 budget, with the amounts and rates as determined by the Ashtabula County Budget Commission, be approved.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I'm not going to read the whole thing. Questions, comments?
No, I would just note, this, obviously, as David Thomas was here, telling how valuations went up in the county, an average of 32%, in Geneva, 25.44%. That is reflected in the inside mills that you see listed at the top of page, what's the top of your page?
I don't have the page.
Top of page 2. Or bottom of page 2 on yours.
Yeah, bottom.
That amount went up about that 25.44%. Overall, the amount to be derived from levies outside the 10 mil limitation, which includes the general fund, our debt service for the buildings, Ohio School Facilities Commission bond, permanent improvement facility maintenance, went up about 19.02% as certified by the county auditor. Now, you will note on here that the outside mills on the debt service 3 mills is a reduction from the 3.5 mills that it had been collected the previous year. Originally, this was a 5.95 mil bond issue, so the board has decreased that millage by 2.95 mils since its inception. Another thing to note on here is the permanent improvement. You see listed there only a half year's collection, because as of now, with the defeat of that levy, it expired basically December 2023 tax year, with collections still in 2024. So right now, this is just reflecting second half calendar year collections, which would be the first half of the 24-25 fiscal year. So that represents actually a little less than half, because usually in the second half of the calendar, year, we receive less collected than we would in the first half. So there is one more opportunity to put that on the ballot in November. The timeline for that would probably be to have the initial resolution in June, the second resolution in July, and it would have to be certified to the Board of Elections usually around August 8th or 9th. So if that, goes on the ballot and isn't passed then that would completely go away. And as we've pointed out, any levy in the future will not have, any new levy in the future will not have rollback and homestead applied. The legislature did away with that a number of years ago so that the taxpayer now pays the full amount on all our existing levies, especially all the general fund operating levies you see there listed as current levy, which are all continuing. Those are nowhere near the voted mills because we're at the 20 mil floor. So when you see that 42.39 and 3.00 inside mills, a total of 45.39, those are collected at an effective rate of 20 mils as we are at that floor. So any of these levies, they have rollback and homestead, so taxpayers receive a discount basically on their bill that is reimbursed to districts by the state of Ohio, making us whole. But in the future, any new operating levies, there's no such rollback reimbursement.
So if we don't pass it in November, it'll be a lot more expensive if we try again.
Right. The cost for the same millage, plus whatever millage you put on, that would be what is collected. Right now, that permanent improvement, well, it shows at 0.85 voted mills. The county auditor had certified it at 0.499 effective mills. That's what's collected. That was before the valuation increase. Now, because of House Bill 920, that, as well as the facility maintenance, which is also similar to a permanent improvement levy, if you recall, that had to be passed before we got the state money for all of our new buildings.
Right.
And that expires in 2030. The bond issue expires in 2029, and it might be possible that we're able to pay that off in 2028 a little bit early because we do have a call feature and because there's a balance built up because of previous valuation increases, albeit much smaller than the current one. But even with that reduction, we should be collecting enough to pay our debt service each year, and then we may be able to retire that a year or two early.
So that was going to be my question for you. I did a little research today after the failure of the levy yesterday, and I think we're at a point where we need to start talking about having a levy committee of some sort. I did a little research today through OSBA, and that linked me right to the Auditor of State, but they've got some very I really like the way the information is set up because it poses the question and then it gives you the answer, then it gives you best practice, then it gives you an example, a good example and a bad example. I really, really think that we need to consider appointing someone to begin a committee to perhaps start pushing some information out there. Now, they're very, very specific, as we all know, about what we can say as board members and employees. But the guidelines are very, very clear that you can have a levy committee, you can give them information. Yes, there's a certain way that it has to be handed out. You can't go out and say, vote yes. Mr. Lillie can't sit up here and say, vote yes. But you could do, signs like support our schools. There's a lot of ways that we could push information out in the community that would maybe glean a little bit more light on it so that our residents know what the risks are. The other piece of this too is I know the income tax levy is not popular, but I feel like we need to sit down as a board and maybe do, like you said, a little bit of a strategic review and see if we can, like you said, pull back, come back a little bit after we reeval. We may not need that one that you just mentioned, but making the community cognizant of how much that is going to cost us as a district to start from zero, I think is something that we need to take on. We need to have a committee, and I would like to see that move forward and put something out before, mid-October, because people are getting very discouraged with the things that are going on, and they feel like they're behind the 8 ball all the time. And I've said it before, when people are unhappy, they show you with their vote and their dollar. So, I think we have some work to do in that area, but I really, really think it's a good idea for us to have a levy committee at this point.
Agreed.
Absolutely. I think that some of the most general recommendations that we had received is, you can't take a position on if you want to or not want to pass a levy as a board member. One of the recommendations that was given to me by someone in a different district was, well, just show the people all the things they're going to lose. And I know that that would really motivate everyone in such a positive atmosphere to make the recommended change, to see all the things they're going to lose if they don't do what we tell them. And it seems like historically that's been kind of the practice, and not in any nefarious way where people are trying to be mean, but that's the resources we have available. If we can avoid that whole negative experience for everyone and take a pragmatic approach to make sure we're actually solving problems that people want solved, I think that a committee idea not only opens the floor to the board, but it opens us up to some public input so we're not missing the mark on things we may not even be considering that you guys want.
Agree.
So the guidelines say a board member can or cannot
So
run
just,
beyond this committee?
so just some general questions. I printed it so I could share. It says, may a district provide information about how to contact the levy committee? Their answer is perhaps, but caution is advised. We would most likely want to have our treasurer handle that, the handing out of information to a community committee, so we can be absolutely certain that it's correct.
So it's a community committee is, I guess, my question.
Right.
It
So
can't be a
it-
board committee. And a
It's
board
not,
member can't even sit on it.
no, a board member can sit on
Can
it.
sit
They're
on it,
very
okay.
specific, as well as an employee.
Okay.
They're very specific, though. If you are doing levy work within the time frame that you are being paid to work for the district, or, for example, if we were sitting up here as board members and we were proctoring about the upcoming levy, that is a no-no.
Right.
But if we want to be a part, as they told us when we were trained at OSBA, when we became a board member, we didn't lose our rights as a citizen, but we have to, tread carefully so that we follow the rules and dot all the i's and cross all the t's. We don't want to put ourselves in jeopardy. It says, that's the next question, may a district administrator or staff or Board of Education member play a role in the formation of or participate on a levy committee? Yes. But the activity related to the formation of support of a levy committee must clearly present or as a part of their district position or elected office. The roles of district administrators and staff, including the superintendent and treasurer, are different from the role of board members. Board of Education members, being compensated only for their attendance at the board's public meetings, have more available personal time to engage in levy campaign activities. While elected board members have a right and responsibility to explain to the public why they voted yes or no, placing a levy on the ballot, they need not participate on a levy committee to do so. So, I really liked the format of this. It gave you some very clear answers. There were not a lot of blurred lines there, so you could kind of figure it out. And then the example of best practice I really, really liked, because that's my jam. So, but again, it talks about, can a superintendent or treasurer participate? Yes, but caution should be exercised. What I gleaned from this was that you really need to have one person that's going to be a representative. I figured that would be our treasurer. So they would be the ones that would dole out information, but we are absolutely welcome to sit on a committee as we're citizens and taxpayers in this district, so we are absolutely able to. So
where do we go from there? We're gonna just assign it to Kevin and move on?
Well, not quite how that works.
not quite how that works at all.
I
no.
can present factual
That's not how any
information
of this
in any
works.
case, in any case.
Yes.
But what you had said, I don't think you can even appoint. Really, you need
Right,
to get
you
volunteers.
really do. You
Yeah.
have to
cannot.
ask for volunteers. We can't go out and say, hey, you would be really
Can't
good at this.
recruit.
Yeah, exactly. So we would have to, gather, send us, if you're interested in being one of those people, you could reach out. And, hopefully we can guide that path that way so we can get what we need going. But we can't sit on this any longer. We've had 2 tries. They've both failed miserably. We need to be proactive at this point and, I agree with Brock. We're constantly, well, you're going to lose this, you're going to lose that. That's not what's going to pass this right now. We need to have some real hard, honest conversations about, like Brock said, there's things that we may not even know about, but we need to be aware. So just some information for us to ponder and work on how we want to go about doing that.
And the Auditor of State's guidance basically looks at superintendent treasurer as being at will
Absolutely.
24/7.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we can't have anything to do with trying to form a levy
Sure.
committee where the board has a little more leeway in trying to find volunteers.
So what we're asking the community is if you're interested in running, forming, joining, helping, let us know, let Kevin know, let any of us know, and we'll relay the information. And then we'll leave it to you to do all the door knocking and.
And you need to be aware as well that you are not permitted to use school funds for levy campaigning.
Yes.
So there may be a certain amount of donations that you receive as a community committee. There may be some, I know when I sat on the DD board, we set up several fundraisers that were actually for funding our levy. We did a run, walk, roll 5K. It's become very well attended, and we've banked quite a bit. I should say they have now because I'm no longer there, but we had banked quite a bit of money to put towards our levy, signage, billboards, things of that nature. So know that it may be a little bit more of a heavy lift than you just sending an email saying, yes, I would like to be on this committee. Just know that when you're getting into that, it's not going to be a blank check from the district. We, in no way, shape, or form, can do that, so.
Good, thank you, Mrs. Craig.
Yep.
Anything else on that topic? I lost what we're voting on.
Roll call on the.
Yes, roll call, please.
Resolution certifying the amounts and rates.
Yes.
There's no more questions then. Mrs. Milliken Dixon.
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz.
Yes.
Mr. Pierson.
Yes.
Mrs. Cybulski.
Yes.
And Mrs. Krieg.
Yes.
Okay, next item, treasurer search. So we wanted to update you all. We've been having a lot of executive sessions, and this board is all about transparency. So we wanted to share a little bit with you what we've been doing. We've done 2 sets of interviews in executive session. Obviously, if you were interviewing for a job, you wouldn't want to sit right here and be asked everything in front of everybody. It's confidential. So we've done that in executive session. We have a top candidate, and so I move that the board grant authority for the board president to engage in discussions with our top candidate regarding potential contract terms. I need a motion, please. No, I'm the motion. I need a second, please.
A second.
Any discussion about that? This would be me working with K-12, our K-12 group, who helped us identify candidates,
Legal counsel.
and legal counsel, and myself to work out what we want to offer, and then back and forth with what he or she will accept and all of that. Instead of having to bring it to the whole board every time, I'd like the authority to just do that with K-12 and our attorney. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ortiz.
No.
Mr. Pierson.
Yes.
Mrs. Cybulski.
Can I abstain?
Yes, you
Absolutely.
can.
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg.
Yes.
And Mrs. Milliken Dixon.
Yes. Is that 3?
Yep.
Thank you. The Assistant Superintendent recommends the following personnel actions for the 23-24 school year. Can I get a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion about any of this? Nice long list of, not that long.
These people have all passed background checks, just preliminarily, and they've had their BCI reports done?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions or comments about that one? Roll call, please.
Mr. Pierson,
Yes.
Mrs. Cybulski,
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg,
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon,
Yes.
and Mrs. Ortiz.
Yes.
Now the Assistant Superintendent recommends the following personnel actions for 24-25. So those are this year, this is next year. Any questions or discussion about this? I need a motion, I mean.
Did you say 24, 25?
24-25.
Yeah, these are the subs for
These are next year.
For next year,
Substitutes
okay.
for next year, yes.
Okay.
Once a year, we have to hire everybody again.
Yep. So
Subs are on a
moved.
one-year contract.
I'll get, so moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion about it, or questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cybulski,
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg,
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz.
Yes.
And Mr. Pierson.
Yes.
Thank you. The Assistant Superintendent recommends the following volunteer coaches for 23-24, that's this year. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion about it? Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Krieg,
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz.
Yes.
Mr. Pierson,
Yes.
and Mrs. Cybulski.
Yes.
Investigation of a public employee. We have the report from the investigator about the board policy 3362 investigation that we authorized on December 20th of 23. So I move that the board accept that report and that the board grant authority to the board president and treasurer to carry out any actions necessary to accomplish and address the board's acceptance of the investigator's report, including but not limited to providing notice of two parties of investigation results. So that's my motion, so I need a second. Do you want me to read it again?
Yes.
I move that the board accept the investigator's report stemming from the board policy 3362 investigation authorized by the board at its December 20th, 2023 meeting, and that the board grant authority to the board president and treasurer to carry out any actions necessary to accomplish and address the board's acceptance of the investigator's report, including but not limited to providing notice to parties of investigation results. Kevin, feel free to add anything. I think what my understanding is that Kevin and I need the authority to publish these results to the affected parties. We received the results of the investigation from the investigator that we hired on December 20th.
I did not.
Oh, when did we get that?
Did you receive the report?
I thought we all did. Wait, we didn't get the report? Wait a minute, I apologize. I don't. Maybe we should table this. Although we want to let the people investigated know what. Well, we can't. We discussed it in executive session, but I don't know if we got a physical report.
We didn't get a physical report.
Okay, I don't remember.
The results of the investigation were shared with you in
Yeah.
executive session by your legal counsel.
Right. We were all there. I just don't think we want to request a written one. a physical copy of the results?
I would like one.
That was what I thought was going to happen.
Okay. I will let our legal counsel know, so I move that we table this until the April meeting. In the interim, I will contact our legal counsel and ask for that, ask
think-
for the report.
I think we need to postpone it, right? Is it postpone?
Is it postponed or table?
I think it's postponed. I think table's in the same meeting.
I believe the
Postpone
nomenclature
is
is
moved.
correct,
To be
Mrs. Ortiz. I
postponed.
believe it is
Postpone is
postponed.
move the matter until another date.
I think it's postponed.
And table, I believe, actually is the same meeting, but
Same
later.
meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Ortiz.
Thank you, Mrs. Ortiz. Table is postpone it till later in this meeting, which we can't do. So I want to postpone it. I move that we postpone this discussion until I've had a chance to get that report from council.
I'll
That was
second
my motion.
I'll second the postpone.
Second. Any other discussion about that? I thought we'd gotten the physical report. Okay. I'll request it and we'll go on from there. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz.
Yes.
Mr. Pierson.
Yes.
Mrs. Cybulski,
Yes.
and Mrs. Krieg.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Public comments. This is the point in the meeting where we ask the public to please come and join your thoughts and concerns. Each speaker will get 5 minutes for a total of a 30-minute segment. No speaker will be allowed to speak twice on the same topic until everyone has had a chance to speak and there's more time. Who will be my timekeeper?
I can.
Thank you, Mrs. Ortiz. Time starts now. Welcome.
Is it on? Okay. Catherine Simmons, 650 Bridal Court, Geneva. I am here on behalf of GATA. We would like to thank the members of this board for having the courage to recognize the need to step in to protect and address the safety of our students. Their safety and well-being must be our top priority. It is a great responsibility and one that must never be taken for granted, minimized, or ignored. We also wanted to mention that we find it strange that when several members of the previous board supposedly tasked the superintendent with accountability, that they only meant employees of the district that did not work in central office. That hypocrisy is not lost on our members. The fact that we still have a member out on leave for more than 450 days is ludicrous. We are hopeful that this current investigation will be carried out with the same due diligence and expediency that our members' investigation have been. As a GATA representative, I speak on behalf of our members, many of whom are afraid to speak publicly for fear of retribution and targeting. However, we do want to make you and the public aware that many of the book vending machines are not working properly. Furthermore, there is no plan on the part of the district to continue to keep them filled, and the building administrators were told that it would be their responsibility to figure it out. With this as just one small, simple example, we continue to have concerns regarding the vision and long-term plans of the district. In addition, with communication being a district goal, we would have thought there would have been a greater improvement in this area over the past 2 years. The need for more clear and prompt communication was clearly evidenced this week. Again, we reiterate that GATA's goal and hope for the district is to work collectively and cooperatively to once again make Geneva a district that everyone is proud to be a part of. It is our mission to fight for greater opportunities for our students and educational options that will allow all students to reach their greatest potential, as well as meet the needs of every student. GATA has continuously worked hard and sacrificed both time and money to maintain high levels of achievement in some of the district's darkest moments. We remain committed to our students and the community in spite of the criticism and lack of support shown by some in recent years. It is our hope that you will join us in this mission, ask the hard questions, seek to find solutions to immediate needs, and look to the future by creating a long-term vision for the district. The creation of the Athletic Facility Committee is a great step toward providing the students with the resources and opportunities that they deserve. This cannot be done alone, but together we can, and we will achieve great things for our students and the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Simmons. Would anyone else like to speak this evening? Please, microphone. Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Tricia Sizik, 3879 Wheeler Creek Road.
Thank you, Tricia. Go ahead.
On November 6, 2023, my daughter was brutally attacked prison style in the Geneva High School cafeteria. This is my letter to you. Please help me help my daughter and the students and staff to stay safe while being educated and educating. A week before the attack, her attacker and her friend threw trash at my daughter's and her friends in the hallway, and also as a form of intimidation, she and her friends would purposely sit at the lunch table that my daughter and her friends usually sat at. Prior to that, there were no other interactions between them that I'm aware of. As my daughter and her friends were sitting down eating lunch, the attacker's friend punched my daughter's friend in the back as a distraction so that she could attack my daughter. At that point, the attacker grabbed my daughter by the back of her hair and threw her to the ground while repeatedly hammer fist punching her in the temple 8 to 12 times before walking away, and then an adult finally stopped it. The school nurse called me while I was at work and told me my daughter was badly beaten and needed to be taken to the emergency room immediately because her eyes were unresponsive. It is unclear to me why an ambulance was never called. I work in Madison. An ambulance would have gotten her much sooner. I immediately took my daughter to the ER, and because of the severity of the attack, they took her back immediately for examination and CAT scan. She suffered head trauma, bruising, black eye, busted lip, back and neck pain, broken glasses, etc. After that, we took her to the eye doctor to make sure that she had no swelling behind her eyes and to have her glasses repaired. The next day, we had to have x-rays done on her neck and back. Thankfully, everything was okay, except the tremendous amount of pain she was in and continues to have. The mental trauma that she has still has not been shaken. That is a concern as well. My daughter has severe anxiety and does not want to go back to school if her attacker comes back on April 10th. I had a meeting scheduled the next day with Dr. Trehorn, Mr. King, and Mr. Chenoweth. Mr. King and Mr. Chenoweth were present. Dr. Trehorn opened the door and said, "Wrong meeting." I said, "No, you're in the right meeting." She said, "I said wrong meeting," and shut the door. Through all of this, Dr. Trehorn had no compassion or empathy. I was very taken aback by her demeanor. I felt like she didn't care about the safety of not just my daughter, but for all the other students and staff, almost as if we were a nuisance. I was heartbroken, to say the least. Dr. Trehorn did try to reach out to me the next day. However, that is when we were getting my daughter's x-rays. I tried to call her back with no luck. In late January, Dr. Trehorn called me. We planned a meeting for February 9th. When the meeting took place, Mr. King, Dr. Trehorn, and another lady were there. To me, the meeting was useless. I feel she had no intent on helping solve this issue, and once again, was heartless, condescending, and showed no empathy. I sat there and cried, begging her to do something to keep my daughter's attacker out of this school. A teacher that I spoke with that works there made a very valid point. The attacker is going to fail the 9th grade. Why is she coming back? When kids like her are bored, they will find trouble to cause. We do not need to keep children like this in our beloved school. We have a protection order in place that will last no less than 3 years. We did press charges, and I am unaware at this time what her attacker's punishment will be. Her attacker told several people what she was going to do to my daughter. Some students even videotaped it. Instead of helping, that video ended up on social media That to me is crazy. This has created even more mental trauma for my daughter. She sees a psychologist and is now on a higher dose of medication because of this. Since the attack, my daughter has been called names including effing emo B. She heard people saying, that's her, that's the girl, that's the attacker, I won't say her name, that beat the out of her, and other awful things. I would like to thank Mr. King for all of his hard work and dedication on trying to prevent this from happening again. He has always made time for me and my daughter and has shown us so much compassion and empathy.
5 minutes.
I'd like to ask you,
Oh, that's fine.
what if this was your child? My daughter's attacker is a threat. She premeditated a brutal attack against another student that could have left my daughter for dead. What's next? Guns? Knives? All of this being said, I beg you to do something to help prevent her attacker from victimizing anyone else at Geneva High School again, and to show children who may do this that there is consequences to your actions. If her attacker comes back and something else happens, I want to know who's going to be accountable for it. This has to stop, and I personally will not stop. I won't stop until this matter is resolved.
Thank you, Tricia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sisson.
Would anyone else like to speak this evening? Thank you.
Wait, I think there's somebody that wants to.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
We don't control the public. This is,
Two
we are
people.
stewards of your tax
Yeah,
dollars.
2 people can do the same subject, yes.
On November 6th, 2020.
Name and address for me.
Oh, Joanne Obernier.
Thank you.
1462 Garrett Road South. November 6th, 2023. Our granddaughter was brutally and cowardly attacked from behind. I've seen the video. I hope you all have seen the video. It broke my heart. She suffered physical injury that healed, but the emotional and mental damage that was done may never heal. What is the school's policy regarding this incident and this girl coming back? Because my granddaughter is suffering undue anxiety and stress. Can you guarantee me this won't happen again to her or any other student? When a child is at school, isn't it your duty, from the superintendent on down, to protect and keep them safe, especially in today's world? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bobby Cudlock, 137 Brainerd's Drive. I wasn't planning on talking, but she was able to stand up here and talk about this, which is super hard for her. So, my daughter was one of the girls that was sitting with her daughter when this happened, and she has also been tormented by these girls. And the girl that was that attacked her daughter, she's been tormented by her also. She would tell me every day about all these things leading up to it. I never thought that it would get to that extent. Like, I never thought that, and the fact that nobody stepped in and stopped it, just blows my mind. I know everybody's afraid, like, that they're gonna get in trouble, the teacher's gonna get in trouble because they stopped it and they restrained a child, but like, our kids should not be getting hit like this, and they should feel safe at school. And our daughter also has very bad anxiety. She gets teased all the time, and she still goes to school. She's a straight A student. She's in all honors classes. She's such a sweet girl. And it's just so sad that just these sweet kids just get tortured like this. It's just not fair. And I guess we as parents just have to talk about it, even though it makes you want to throw up. But I don't think that, I don't know what you can do about stopping this girl from coming back to school, because I know our daughter is terrified of her now. And she was eating lunch in the office for a long time because of it. And she's scared too. So her daughter's not the only one that's afraid of this girl and what she might do to them. So, thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Thank you all. Board member reports. Mr. Pierson, do you have anything?
I had several correspondences, corresponding, well, I guess I just corresponded with the public over a few things. There's some people here. For a matter of privacy, I didn't want to speak about what they am. I do intend to bring them up in executive session. I wanted to thank people for some of the things that we've had to talk about, agreements, disagreements. I appreciate everyone's candid honesty and allowing me to get this into the right hands. My silence, again, I just want to reiterate, is not me not caring about it. I want to make sure that we go through the proper steps. Those proper steps include having to meticulously follow policy in order to navigate what previously are, as some allege, not having been enforced in the past, including some of our public speakers tonight. I have to get to the bottom of it, and it's not easy as just one member of the board, nor is it easy for any of the other board members who want to be able to get to the bottom of it. The wheels of justice are slow, but they, create a very fine flower. And as to say in closing, I did speak to some of the people who spoke here publicly tonight, and I have prepared and summarized that to go through what I would advise anyone who wants to make somewhat of a, if their intent is to make the board aware of it and or to bring it to someone else's attention, there are policies we have in place. I am going to send them once the proper verbiage is approved. I have a few people looking at it. But we do want to make sure it is in writing and it is sent to whatever administrator is closest to the situation that you may be having. And the reason I say that is because there are some people here that spoke, and I believe their intent was to bring that to us. With our current policy, that would not meet the guidelines of a complaint. So I just want to make sure that I make that crystal clear. I don't want to speak on behalf of the board at large, just the policies specifically. Please look at them, and if any that you think apply may dictate what you would like to do and who you'd like to get that to, make sure that you just follow those policies, and it will hopefully make its way into the right hands and eventually to us. Hopefully it doesn't have to come to us, but if it does need to, then it will. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Pierson. Mrs. Ortiz, do you have anything?
No.
Mrs. Krieg?
I have just one question back to Mr. Riley's report. I noticed on the textbook adoption, it's only from 6 through 12 for English and language arts. And the state of Ohio has pushed out guidance that we all need to have curriculum K through 6 that aligns with the science of reading by the 24-25 school year. So I'm just wondering what that's looking like here.
Our understanding is that the Wonders program that we have fits in the copyright year that we have it, falls within, the science of reading, what they were looking at. Also, the language in our interpretation, as we've spoken with the Department of Education and Workforce, it does not have to be in place before the start of the 24-25 school year. It has to be in place at some point during the 24-25.
What are we using for a dyslexia screener?
At this time, I believe it is the iReady program. But we as a district, we are looking at the MAP NWA program. We've been kind of looking into that this year, and actually we brought that up for a conversation yesterday in our district leadership team.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Mrs. Krieg?
No, that's all, thank you.
I have a couple of things. this ties in with Mr. Pierson's complaint situation. So let me walk you back and give everybody a little history of this, real brief. And I don't even remember who. Someone on the board said, we should have a form so that if there's a complaint of this nature, any other nature, then on our website, you can click on it, fill out the form, and it gets distributed to the superintendent, supposedly, right? So I asked Mr. Pierson if he would help develop one. I've got no skill in that area. I can't do it. So I said, Brock, you're young and no computers. Will you please help? So Mr. Pierson designed a form. That form somehow leaked out, but it's not an official form yet. What we have to do is adopt it as an official Geneva Schools form that goes along with the policy. So what we're doing, and I'm going to ask you, Brock, if you would please, you have a blank one, will you send it to all of us?
Yeah, and I'll work with you.
And then we can discuss it and adopt it and move from there.
Yeah.
Does that
My
make sense?
understanding was we were making it to an existing policy. It was my error that I've taken accountability to for the board that we want to make sure it's approved ahead of time, because we don't want to narrow or have any type of implication outside of what we intend to do with our policies and that these, other board members do with our policies. So I'd spoken with legal counsel who had just asked that I pull that back, and that was a big oopsie moment and a big learning moment. That was super embarrassing. However, I'm accountable to the public, and I just wanted to make sure I was transparent about it, and I appreciate President Milliken Dixon for bringing it up, and I apologize to the public for that. However, I just want to make sure that parents are given a utility that works. However the board approves that utility that works is for the board to decide, and I look forward to working with everyone. I will forward that over to you guys.
Thank you. Will you include the administrators as well?
Happily.
Because what we'd like is to have input from you all, because you get complaints every day, I'm sure. So, we'd like feedback from you all. If you're comfortable at next month's meeting, getting up and giving public feedback, great. If you're not, let Dave or myself or Mr. Pierson know what your feedback is on the form. However you want to do it is okay, but be prepared then to discuss it in some fashion in April. Does that make sense to everybody? We're on the same page? Okay. Pull up my list here. Ladder jackets. So there's been some debate for an unknown number of years. We've been the only school in the district that has two separate jackets, one for athletic letters and one for arts and academic letters. And everyone I've spoken to feels like that's an undue differentiation that makes some folks, some of our students, feel like a lower class citizen. So I asked if we could get that changed and didn't get anywhere getting it changed. And so I went to Sports and Sports myself. And I talked to the manager and I said, please change this. What do I have to do to change this? So from that day on, it was a week ago, I think, 10 days ago, we have both jackets, the ones with the stripes and the ones plain. And if you walk in there with a Geneva letter from any discipline, you can choose which one to spend your $400 on. So I went ahead and just did that. It was a simple fix. And so I wanted to let everybody know that. Eclipse classes. Where are we on making sure all the students have eclipse classes? Do we have any? Mr. Ryder?
It has been handled. There was a couple of buildings still out there that did not have them. We have placed in purchase orders through their principal activity accounts. They should arrive here shortly. Then we will have, everybody will have them before the big day.
What? Mr. King?
I believe the boosters or
Academic boosters
academic
is
are
covering
handling
the high
the high
school.
school, correct.
There it is.
I believe, so academic boosters is covering the high school, and Mr. Barbo worked with Mr. Griffiths to take care of ATEC students as well, so they have them. Mr. Poland purchased them out of his fund for the middle school. Austinburg's PTO purchased theirs, so that left us with Cork and GPS. And I had emailed back and forth with Mr. Riley yesterday, and he gave them the directive to go ahead and purchase those out of their account, so all the students should have glasses now.
Perfect, thank you. That was my question.
Don't look in the sun, please.
Don't look at the sun without the glasses.
Not a good plan.
Not a good plan. We've lost another of our Geneva family, Diane DePietro. I do this every time I do this. Why do I keep doing this to myself? She was a high school algebra teacher for 36 years. Sorry. What do I want to say about her? She was no nonsense. You were in her class and you did what you were told and you sat up straight and you did not use a calculator because you're never going to have a calculator you can carry around with you. And she was no nonsense. Until the day when one of her students had a parent die on the third day of school. He barely knew Diane, had not had her for very many, 3 classes. She gave him his homework that he asked for, walked him out, and hugged him and gave him her sincere empathy and sorrow for his loss. And that's who she was. She loved through a stern fist, but she loved our students deeply, and she died at the young age of 84. And that's all I have. Anyone else have anything for the good of the order? Uh-oh.
Wow.
Well.
That's it. That's not a sign.
Can you still hear me? Coop just turned on the light switch. Yes! That's the way to go, the path of least resistance. All right. So I'd like to recommend the board hold an executive session for the purpose of considering the appointment, employment dismissal, discipline, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee or official. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion about it? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cybulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
And Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
We will not be returning to do any business following executive session. Thank you all for coming. Meeting adjourned.